Welcome to the program once more. It's day 3 of the nationwide protest against hunger and bad governance by Nigerians. Well, the nation woke up on Thursday to protest against hunger and hardship in many parts of the country. Except for the southeast that has been completely silent, the protest has had some measures of scale everywhere else. The protest with the hashtag End Bad Governance in Nigeria, which slowly began to build up in the capital cities, soon turned chaotic amid security crackdown. In Kano, protesters stormed the government house, chanting anti-government songs before hitting other parts of the city in a violent rage of looting and wanton destruction. The protest also turned violent in Kaduna and elsewhere in Gombe and other adjoining states. In Katsina, protesters stormed the home of former President Muhammadu Buhari in a fit of anger. And in Abuja, police and other security forces fired shots and canisters to repel protesters who were determined to reach the Eagle Square, which is a few distance away from Nigeria's seat of power. That's the Aso Rock Presidential Villa. Despite the plea, warnings and security crackdown, the protesters have in the past 2 days sustained the tempo, calling on the Nigerian government alongside state governments to reverse all of what they call anti-people economic policies, especially the removal of fuel subsidies since May 2023. Meanwhile, Amnesty International is calling for the release of over 50 protesters arrested on Saturday in the nation's capital, Abuja, on the 3rd day of the protests. Well, to help us dissect the protests and the dimensions it's taken, we have joining us in the studio a public policy analyst, Niyi Akinsiju, who is also the current chairman of the Independent Media and Policy Initiative, a policy think tank. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Also here is security consultant and public affairs analyst, Jonathan Onoja. Thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
And joining us from our overflow studio is the Speaker of the Arewa Youth Assembly for Good Leadership, Abdul Danbature. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming to the program. Let's start with you, Niyi Akinsiju. What do you think is the overwhelming thing that Nigerians need to do right now, having seen that this protest has gone to where it is, and it looks like so much needs to be done by everybody, from those in government to those who are protesting to voices of reason across the country?
Well, I think gradually there is an understanding of the limitations of protest at this time, because we are still smarting from the humongous losses and damages we witnessed during the EdSARS protest. That has become a benchmark, you know, in violent engagement in Nigeria. And most Nigerians that witnessed it at that time, most of them are still alive. And there were, up till now, there were cases of personal losses, you know, either to individuals and to relatives and people that we're familiar with. During that period, it is recorded that the Nigerian economy lost more than 3 trillion naira, you know, in terms of losses, in terms of damages, and in terms, of course, of stoppages to businesses. So do we then, of course, continue to proceed along this line, knowing that even after that, there were commensurate redemption, you know, by the government. But those redemptions were not facilitated by the act of the protest itself. It is because I think that we actually have governments or people in government that are, one way or the other, of course, sensitive to issues in the country. And of course, if you even look at the relationship between the media, the Nigerian media industry and the Nigerian government, over time, no matter how terrible a particular government or administration may be, when the media that is active, we have a very active, very energetic media industry in Nigeria. And because of that alone, there's a channel of engagement always to hold government to account. And you see that once there is an advocacy of sorts that is championed by the media, there's always a mid-road point between the media acting on behalf of the people and, of course, the government, too, acting on behalf of the people. So what I'm saying is there are so many channels, you know, of engaging the government. beyond, going on the streets. And I'm saying there's nothing wrong in going on the streets, but that the social character of the population we have now had changed. When we were younger and we led demonstrations and all that, we insisted on people understanding our vision. If you don't understand our vision, we don't expect you to go on the street with us. There's a need for consultation, for enlightenment and all that, even on the part of organizers, so that those who are going on the street knows that they are going on the street to ventilate a certain position and not to, of course, cause injury, to fellow Nigerians. I think at the level of the NSAS and what we have just experienced now, the environment, the psychological environment that was created is the environment of rage. And all people were waiting, to come out and fight, more or less.
Well, I guess it's maybe the way it's biting them, and we've seen that actually happening more in the north. And I'll be bringing you in, Danbature, before bringing our security consultant to talk to us about what's going on in the north. People say that on day one, it was a successful protest in terms of people ventilating anger against government in terms of harsh economic policies, both at the federal and state levels. But that from day two, what we started seeing is actually looting and stealing of property and all of that, and people failing to actually listen to the voice of reason. How have young people like you been speaking with people to stay away from destructing public property or that of even private individuals, but to focus on the messaging of which they say is that of hunger and an end to bad governance, corruption, and all of that?
Thank you very much for having me. You see, on behalf of the Arewa Youth Assembly for Good Leadership, we decided to send our message to the government in a way that government will listen to our problem and at least attend to it. That was the reason why we decided to engage the federal government over 2 months ago. That is when we started this process. Over 2 months ago, we started the process by writing it to all the security agencies, including the president himself. But it was very unfortunate when we started the protest 3 days ago. It was very peaceful. But as it is today, before we realize the protest that has been hijacked by hoodlums and with some enemies of Nigerians. We have enemies both inside and within, both within and outside the country, who don't want to see Nigerian progress. If not, our protest is peaceful. It's for us to come and demonstrate our pain and anger in which everybody knows. You and I know. Most especially the north, a lot of things have been happening. We can't go to farm, we can't go to school, we can't do anything at all. We have been dying every day by day, but no single response. So we decide now to reach out to the federal government so that at least they will do something for us. That was the reason why we said, okay, we should now come out with a peaceful protest. But as I'm talking to you, look at one of my eyes that swell up day before yesterday because of tear gas that had been shooting everywhere. But at the end of the day, when we came out, we realized some hoodlums, the way hoodlums are trying to hijack the whole things, the way some other people are trying to hijack the whole things is kind of surprising. That was the reason why we said, okay, let's come out and at least highlight our people. The genuine protesters should know, because before the protest, before even the protest start, our people have been divided into two, because the Arewa Youth Assembly for Good Leadership is an umbrella body that comprises all the groups that are in the north. They are under the Arewa Youth Assembly for Good Leadership. So some of the group even decide to step down before the protest, while some decide to go on before the protest. Then me, as the speaker of the organization, I supported that because it is their fundamental human right for them to step down or to go on with the protest. And we are still talking to them in a way that they will still engage the government for dialogue. But before me coming here, we now said, okay, it's better for us to talk to ourselves. It's better for us to listen to our leaders. It's better for us to listen to our mothers at home, our wife, our politicians, those who are with us. Because we can't say all our politicians are corrupt. No, majority of them are corrupt, but we still have the good ones, so that we can sit down and dialogue with them. Then we decide to come out with a letter. We decided to come up with a letter and present it to the federal government so that they will engage us with a dialogue. Luckily, we're happy to see the kind of response how the federal government received us with so much kindness, welcoming. Everything is very good. The way they give us open hand for us to come and dialogue. So we have submitted our letter today so that we can sit down and dialogue. And this thing I'm telling you, we have submitted to the Office of the National Security Advisor, President himself, and Senate President. So we are waiting for them for a dialogue from now to next week. That is 7 days ultimatum. If they did not respond to us from now to next week, then we'll still come out to the street. We, the genuine protesters, not hoodlums, those who are trying to hijack the whole things, will come out in the street and continue demonstrating until they listen to our pains. Because the youth are not smiling at all.
Yeah, right. I mean, we just hold on right now. And we ask you to just hold on at the moment, even as we come to our security consultant, Jonathan Onoja. So, Onoja, talk to us about the difference between genuine protesters and looters, and how we've seen security response throughout.
All right, thank you, Suna, and thank Nigerians for having me this evening. I think first we need to talk about the fundamentals. Is there hunger in the land? The question is yes. Do we have some kind of bad leadership? The question is yes. But then, how do we engage the people? We are very lucky enough as a nation that our country have established relevant institutions for engaging the government. Number one, we have the Human Rights Public Complaint Commission. We have the Human Rights Commission. And we have a whole lot. We could have equally written to the National Assembly, engage them before even coming out for protest. Like what the Secretary of the Arewa Youth have just said, it's as if they are being reactive because they have come out, protested, lives are lost, and then we are talking about engaging the government. If for any reasons we have engaged them before now, that means we are proactive. Submit letters through the relevant institutions.
Yeah, I mean, most Nigerians say they've been doing that, but it looks like those in government thought it wasn't.
But then, I am coming back, just trying to create a fundamental as to why the protest came and why we need to retreat. Like I said, there is a problem. There's an upward cheat from the government, that no doubt. There is hunger in the land, that no doubt. But if we recant our lessons from the answers, like Doctor said, we should also as a people come to realize that street protest, in a way, is not a protest at this point, considering the innocent lives that are going to go. In the Southeast, there's a sit-at-home order. That alone is a protest. Over months, they have been home, and in this protest, they are not coming out. Sitting at home also, not going to work, is a protest, because the government is going to lose a whole lot of things for the period of days they are going to sit at home. And so if the people have chosen to say there's hunger, we are not coming out, it's a different thing, and that is a protest. Protest can be demonstrated in a different medium without having life lost, properties looted, and a whole lot of things. We must not engage the security forces in kinetic manner all the time before we come to believe that there's a protest. And so, going forward from what we are having today, already the tension is there. We need to begin to douse the tension. We need to come to the table of dialogue. And again, we need to exhaust all the mediums of dialogue before we engage the people in the street. And so, the federal government also have a role to play. And the leadership of the National Assembly need to also be very, very, constructive in engaging the people. Imagine the build-up to this protest, the government was aware. And we still have a National Assembly leader who will come out to say, while you are protesting, we'll be eating. That alone is already inciting, and I think
I saw some people in his home state of Akwa Ibom actually,
and it is not
President Godswill Akpabio protesting against that statement.
It is not right as a leader. This statement are inciting, and so we should, as people, as leader, begin to encourage our people. And I think one of the reasons why this protest has gone so bad is because, to an extent, is the leadership. We have protests in Plateau State, where the former Minister of Sports, Solomon Dalong, was involved. Did you have anything breakdown of rules and order? The answer is no, because of the leadership. And so if we have people that are coming out that we are the leader of this particular protest, I think they are going to recruit a followership that is going to believe in their vision, like Doctor said. But because of the lack of leadership that we have, is why we have someone will be in Toronto and be 20 that you can go on street, whereas his families and him are over outside the country. And so we should begin to understand the concept of protest in this part of the world. Like I earlier said, if I decide to sit at home, it's a protest on its own. All
right, and we've seen that actually Niyi Akinsiju, he's been calling you doctor. I don't know if you've received a doctorate degree of recent.
That's my title.
Oh, okay. Well, very interesting indeed.
Yeah, so we'll announce that very soon.
All right, so as we try to douse tension in all of this, Niyi Akinsiju, talk to us about how the Nigerian government needs to speak to the people at the moment. People are very angry that President Tinubu hasn't spoken, and the opposition People's Democratic Party has said that, look, this is not how to run a country. President Tinubu, speak to the nation. When we had this sort of situation under our government, President Jonathan addressed the nation. And even President Buhari addressed the nation. So what exactly is keeping President Tinubu out of the way?
Thank you very much. By my understanding of that question, it would seem as if the president had not been engaging the space. I recall sometimes last year, just about 2 or 3 months after I was sworn in, and there was this kind of near agitation in the public space. The president took a 30 minutes airtime, across all media to directly, talk to Nigerians. And he specifically talked about the possible consequences of the policies, he was conceiving then, and then, of course, deploying and implementing. And he also generally, of course, asked for the understanding of Nigerians. And I also know that in different public announcements and engagements, he had also made sumptuous, references to the possible challenges that would, arise from the policies and all that. So now, asking him to address the nation, there's nothing wrong about it. But I also know that the system of government and governance is not reactive. It is not something that is. There's a particular.
Yeah, but I mean, most Nigerians are on the streets. Some are even sitting at home.
Most
actually feeling sad about what's going on. And the thinking actually is that even people who are at home in their houses are actually protesting silently. Shouldn't the president actually say, look, I've heard from you. It's time for us to come together, unite together, and see what we can do going forward.
I'm very sure the president would do that at the right time. I mean, the president is an understudy of mine, and I know, the way he thinks more or less from afar,
Yeah, I mean, people have been in the streets together in the 90s.
Exactly. So, but I am thinking that what the president is doing in terms of addressing some of the specific demands, of the protesters may even be more important. One major policy position that the FEC, through the president, made last week, decision to sell crude oil to the Dangote refineries and all other refineries in Nigeria in Naira, is a major policy position.
Yeah, but we've seen what looks like a counter. I don't know if you read that report by international news gathering organization, Reuters, saying that, look, the NNPC is currently looking for foreign partners to actually buy its crude. Which is supposed to be meant to for this domestic refiners.
That particular story talks to a 35,000 a day deal.
Yeah.
And we have capacity to produce 2 million, 2.5 million.
Yeah, out of the 445,000 barrels per day
of the national feedstock.
Yeah.
You know? So the national feedstock at 445,000 a day, you know, can even still be increased because we have not even fulfilled our OPEC quota in the first instance. And what we need to do, and I think that is what the president is striving, to enlarge our capacity to produce more. We have moved from a measly under 1 million barrels a day over the last 14 months to a high of 1.7 million. You know, that is encouraging.
Well,
so it also means...
have been disputing that, actually.
Well, is it me? The thing about me is, historically, I believe in the process of government information. As long as it is not military, once it is democracy. Democracy is about people. So there is no single person that can manipulate information anywhere. Once you manipulate it and it is in public space, there are always verification mechanisms that would, of course, verify the truthfulness or otherwise of the information in the public space. So what I'm trying to say essentially is, it is not as if we carry a huge burden of challenges in the Nigerian system. It is just that, one, we need to trust ourselves. Second, we need to be focused on the possibilities in this country. The major challenge we have now, and we are talking about hunger. Yes, we need to talk about hunger. For me, I believe there is a need to have a system that will make our economy create jobs. The unemployment in the system is huge. And historically, I credit it to this all this issue of fuel subsidy, you know, and what do you call it? The currency, different whatever in the currency windows.
Of the naira,
you know,
actually.
Now my simple example is this: if we are exchanging, officially, we are exchanging a dollar at 1,600, naira to a dollar now. It means that those days when we're operating this official and parallel market, and people were buying dollar at 460 naira. It means Nigerians were gifting those people more than 1,000 naira as subsidy.
All right.
And those people are just small in number.
Yeah, well, it's only the former government that can explain better. And
so thank God for what we have now.
I'll bring you in back, Onoja. Talk to us now. What do you think that the security forces can do much better? Because some of the protesters, just before I come to Danbature, are saying that it was when the policemen started firing tear gas that, the protesters in some of the states became rude and aggressive and all of that. Shouldn't we have had a better policing system?
No, that's a problem. Something led to that. Like I always said, it is where the right of an individual stops that another continues. So you don't expect the security personnel to watch you burning down courthouse, vandalizing state government's properties, individual properties, private properties, and then you said they should not engage you. And another thing that I think people should look at is the fact that there is a restricted area, which the government has also gotten an injunction from court. I think that is what the protesters even are trying to break in. That's the area they try to break in, to say we have proved might. This is who we are. And that is where the problem is. Because the Eagle Square is a target.
Yeah, in Abuja, but look at the visuals now you're saying on. Can you stop these people from actually going into different parts of, their state capitals and all of that? Do you think that this kind of protesters and then this group of maybe sometimes mob and all of that can be restricted to a particular area? So
they come if they are genuine protesters. The moment they have deviated from the fundamentals, the constitution, and also from the act that made what protests they have today, they have become a bandit. They have become terrorists.
Well, there were some videos where policemen were actually running from some of these people because
even the policemen have been killed. People that kill people, people that rob people that take what does not belong to them. Do we not classify them as protesters? The moment they deviate from the concept of protest and begin to take what do not belong to them, or begin to invade a particular place or area, they become a threat to our national peace and security. And you do not treat them as protesters at that point.
All right, I'll just ask you to hold on while I bring Danbature back. Talk to us about what we need to do at the moment to prevent, this seeming brigandage that's ongoing in different parts, especially of the North. I mean, people are counting on young people like you to actually talk to your colleagues, because it looks like the young people who have become mobs, different from the protesters that you say you are, actually not listening to anybody at all. They are not listening to malams, ulamas, and all of that. How do we get these people to actually stop looting and then focus on the message that they want to send to government?
You see, thank you very much. First and foremost, I think I disagree with the representative from National Assembly, I think, when he said there is not leadership in this protest. I think this is the first time Nigerian has to highlight or inform the government the day and the time that they will be having their protest. So we have leadership. As I'm talking to you, I am one of the leaders who is part of this peaceful movement. And as I'm here with you, today, Saturday, we have concluded, like I said earlier, we have concluded and we have informed all our regional coordinators, including from state to local government coordinators, to officially inform them that, please, we have withdrawn from the peaceful protest. From today, we have withdrawn from the peaceful protest. We are giving government 1 week for them to listen to us. That is within 7 to 5 days coming. For them to listen to us so that we can sit down and have a dialogue. Because the most important thing is to send a message. And we have sent the message, and federal government assure us that they are going to have a dialogue with us. And as you can see, you mentioned the North. Let me tell you something about the North. We are people with culture and tradition. We respect each and every one of us, including our leaders. As I'm talking to you here, I will keep on highlighting and briefing our people and our members for them to know the importance of this movement we are doing. And inshallah, as from today, there will be no protest anywhere or no any challenge anywhere across the North. And if anything happen, if such thing happen anywhere, that means those are the enemies of this country. Those are the hoodlums who are trying to hide under the umbrella of the protest and start stealing or start destroying people's property. And we are citizens of Nigerians. We respect our rules and regulations, including our constitutions.
All right, just hold on there, Danbature. I'm seeing that Onoja wants to actually reply to you, and he's actually not a member of the National Assembly. He's just a secret
that I have to make clear.
Yeah.
It's just the perception of an ordinary Nigerian. Once you take a position that do not actually reflect the immediate interest that they want, it takes you as an opposition. And so, gentlemen, I'm not a member of the National Assembly, and even if I do, it's going to be in the future. But for now, we are addressing the situations that is on the national concern. It's about our national security. It's about our national peace. And so if you're coming for dialogue, that's what we call cobra effect in economics. In your attempt to solve a problem, you've ended up creating a problem. The members or the people that have lost their lives, we bring them back? The answer is no. The NCC quarters that was vandalized, do you know how much it's going to take the government to bring back those things? If you were going to bring all of this into a dialogue table, there's an alternative dispute resolution. You have not exhausted all the medium of engagement before going on street. So it's quite unfortunate that we begin to come out now to say that we are going to give government a 1 week ultimatum when you have all the medium of dialogue. And this were not exhausted. Like I mentioned, ab initio, there are different commissions of government that should have.
I will ask you, Danbature.
And so we cannot say the protests have done us any good.
All right, just hold on. Let him reply to that.
Considering
the NSAS,
the NSAS history.
Can I say something, please?
Yeah, please go ahead. Just hold on.
Okay. Can I say something, please?
Please do go ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay. My brother, don't forget, Barack Obama once said something, and I quote. He said, "A society that did not provide for the youth cannot protect the rich." The anger, the frustration on the Nigerian youth
is beyond, I don't even know how to say it. We are the most peaceful and the most patient citizen on earth. So, but we are not, it's not as if we are supporting the movement of the hoodlums, the movement of the enemies of this country. That is one of the reasons why some of our members even withdraw from the protest, why some go on with it. And those that go on with it, we are calling them today for them to drop their protest, to drop everything, and at least let's move in a dialogue with the federal government. As I'm talking to you, we have written to the federal government directly. We are just waiting for them. Because we are Nigerians, we know how our politicians behave.
When you say you wrote to the federal government, which office of the federal government did you write to directly? Let's know who exactly is engaging you.
We have, thank you very much. We have write to the office of the president. We have written to the office of the Senate President. We have written to the office of the Speaker. We have written to the office of the Minister of Defense. And we have written to the office of the National Security Advisor. And we have submitted the letter yesterday.
All right. So as we try to round off this conversation, Niyi Akinsiju, I want you to come in here and talk to us about the urgency of a national collective decision now. The protest is on, people are angry and all of that. How do we have leaders of reason that can come together for both the government, the security forces, and the aggrieved Nigerians to meet at a table? Very quickly as we try to round off the conversation.
Well, I won't buy into that mega vision, you know.
You think it's not possible?
That had always been our challenge.
You think it's not possible for these three parties?
You know, it is possible. But what I'm saying is there are other ways to it. The whole thing that usually pushes us had always been this idea of big conference call, of everybody, you know, converging on Abuja, and then, of course, everybody throwing all manners of English and grammar. But you see, the Nigerian nation is a nation constituted of diverse thoughts, diverse tribes, diverse tendencies and characters. And they are found in street, roads, walls, local government, states, and the federal and the national. So if my kind of proposed engagement would be to meet people where they are, you know. So anybody, some people came in from Yanya and they were violent, you know. Do we want to bring them down to Abuja, to the FCT capital to talk before we talk to them? And the fact is that when you have that large, wholesome gathering, you are not even having representation of these people we are talking about. Mm-hmm. We have been referencing hoodlum. And it just touched my mind. These hoodlums we are talking about are actually Nigerians. And they are passing through some sort of deprivation. And that is why they are qualified for these hoodlums. But they are first and foremost Nigerians, and they are human beings. Yeah. Is it also not appropriate to find a way of identifying them wherever they are and start also dialoguing with them? That translates to me that it is not just the president.
But who would they believe?
It is not
because they are, most of their religious leaders, both Christians, Muslim leaders, they say they don't believe. Many of them now, would have been reading social media, they're saying all of this. Even some people, but I think Danbature actually said that there are some lawmakers that it looks like are genuine. Some ministers also have the voice that they can listen to. So those people who have the credibility, shouldn't they be engaged by the government? I mean, within the government and outside the government to be used?
There are layers. What I'm saying is that there are layers. Yeah. You have layers at the national level, you have the layers at the state level, you have layers at the local government level and at the world level. If I am going to make a proposition, this is the kind of layers of engagement I am talking about.
Especially by the state government.
Yes, by the state, by the local government, you know, by the local government. That is where you have much, you know, of much reflection, you know, of this